Okay, we got that. Oh, la, la. Mm-hmm. 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 Thank you so much, Thurston. Happy holidays to you, Thurston. I hope your holidays are looking beautiful. I really do. Lots of health to you and your family, to your loved ones. Let's see, so we have that. Let me see what we have here. Da, 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 da. Let me see if this is working. And it should be that. Let's see what we got here. Let's do that. Let's do that. So you can do something if it shows up. Yep, there it is. Good. It's there. Okie dokie. Now we got five people. That's good. We don't need more than five. We need more than five. Keto. So we have this, we have this. We'll be on in a second, guys. Can you guys hear me? A ver si lo puedo ayudar aquí. Me pueden escuchar. Me pueden escuchar los muchachos. Yeah. Can you guys hear me? Just give me a thumb. Thurston, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Loud and clear. Thank you very much, Mr. Thurston Howell III. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back once again to the greatest watch market update show. As you guys know, to the ones that don't know, this is a real public service watch announcement channel. That's what we do. You know, we announce what's happening out there, you know, things about watches and gold that you guys should know about, you know, because there's nobody else is doing this duty as well as Sweet Kid Kino and I. All right, guys? Ladies and gentlemen, we ask all of you always to please try to cooperate with us with a thumbs up, you know, with a thumbs up. It'll be very, very helpful if you guys give us a thumbs up. All right, guys? Also, ladies and gentlemen, before we forget, we also have a private watch group, you know, a watch group with real organic watch channel, you know, this platform that we have is on Bookface. So if you guys want to join that private watch group, it's on Bookface. Play with the word, you know, Bookface. And it's under my name, Juan Felipe Nieves. And you go to About and you'll find there Opusntime Watches, all right? So if you want to join that group, maybe Samantha and Sweet Kikino will let you in the group if you fit the right credentials, all right, guys? So, guys, we're going to just jump into the show. We want to talk a little bit about precious metals because we talk about precious metals in this channel, you know, in this organic watch channel. So we're going to be talking about rhodium, you know, rhodium, the troy ounce price of rhodium as of this moment is at $8,050 a troy ounce. Palladium, to all of you who like palladium, the price of troy ounce of palladium is at $1,744 a troy ounce. All right, guys? And ladies and gentlemen, I know that I have told you in the last couple of live streams that I have done, I have told you to take a good take a good look at this precious metal because it's behaving very, very strong. You know, it's standing firm and strong, and that is platinum. You know, platinum is making a run there that is, you know, it's kind that you have to look at it. It's at $1,989, you know. something that we haven't heard platinum behaving the way it's behaving. All right, so just to let you know where it's at, ladies and gentlemen. You have to talk about this precious metal because it's just it's ripping in high levels. It's just ripping, and it's unbelievable when I look at it, and I can't believe the way it's behaving, and maybe you guys should consider looking into it because it's all the big shots of around the world are looking into it heavily and investing on it heavily, and we're talking about the white stuff. We're talking about white stuff. The white stuff is called silver. Silver is unbelievable. The price of silver today, ladies and gentlemen, is $67.68 a troy ounce. I repeat that. The price of silver, the troy ounce price of silver as of today, it has a price of $67.68. And I gotta tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the silver, the XAG forecast silver rally extends as tight supply lifts. The supply is in demand. You go to any of these those big stores, like I don't know if I don't know if BJ's is still around. I don't know what, those Costco stores. You cannot find that white stuff nowhere. You can't find it nowhere. And ladies and gentlemen, buyers, which that is you. If you are a buyer, you know, you guys are still in control. You guys are still in control because this thing is, ladies and gentlemen, it's getting expensive. You know, silver is getting expensive, and you guys should really, consider, looking into this silver. Silver prices. Some experts are talking about silver prices in the year 2026, which will be sometime in the next week and a half. It will be 2026, and I'm gonna tell you something because I'm not saying this. I do a lot of reading, and I read on people that I have some kind of respect, and some of these people are talking about in the early year of 2026, like the month of February. They're saying that silver will basically. I don't agree on this, but I'm going to tell you because you need to know. They're saying in early February the price of silver will be at $56.68, right? Early May of 2026, early May 2026 is going to be at, they say again, it's going to be at $69 a troy ounce. August of 2026, they're talking about a price of $79.59, right? And at the end of the year, in December of 2026, these experts are saying that silver will be at $97.85. It's kind of hard for me to believe that because right now I can't find silver nowhere. Everybody is hiding it. Everybody, from those big investors out there, those financial minds, like that guy, Fink Larry, and all these names, the Vanguards, State Street, all these people, the owners of the world, they're hiding it. There's no supply of silver. There's no supply. No hay nada, papi. No hay nada. Porque, all of them are grabbing it and putting it away for their, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, those people, the bloodline. You know what a bloodline is? You don't know about that, and we're not going to get into that today. But they're saying that. They're saying that, so you need to be aware of these things, ladies and gentlemen. It's ripping into highs. Una locura. I just told you what people are talking about 2026, but I what I'm seeing right now with silver is out of control. Um, I wanna say something else to you guys, and we're gonna be talking about Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs. I kid around with them. I make funny jokes. About them saying that this is the number one watch market update show in the world. I make that silly stuff humorous to get you guys a little happy out there. But these people in Goldman Sachs, they don't really like to fall in to start making, predictions and saying things. They're not into doing that. Goldman Sachs son unos leones. They're not involved, and I'm gonna say this prediction, but for some reason they opened their beak and they made a prediction. They made a prediction, and we're talking about gold, pure gold. It's going all the way to the moon. All the way to the moon. If you didn't get on that bus when gold was at 1,800 troy ounce, you missed the bus. But Goldman Sachs is saying that as of 2026, the banks, these people son unos monstruos. These people, exactly. Thank you very much for saying that. Whoever this is AB Delta. Thank you for saying that. And they don't talk. These people callao because it's not to their convenience to be saying this, but for some reason they open their beak up and they're saying in the year 2026, gold, pure gold, the troy ounce, all the way up to the moon. And somebody told me the other day, all the way to Mars. Somebody said Mars. I don't know, one of those names. And they're saying, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to believe this, but they're saying that that guy, Goldman Sachs, unbelievable. They're saying that gold is going to go between $4,900 and $5,100. That's that Goldman Sachs. Those people don't talk. Esa gente tan callado. Those people are quiet in a corner, but for some reason, like I keep on telling you, they opened their mouth and they said that. Ladies and gentlemen, I got 15 organic watch channel subscribers and 3 thumbs up. Ustedes son unos miserables. Ustedes son todos unos miserables. You guys are miserables, especially in this time of the year, the holidays. You guys are a bunch of Grinches, you know that? Me giving you and pouring to you what I understand, what I think I understand, because yo soy un lambón. I'm stupid, I'm stupid like that. But, 15 and you know what it is, that's, come on, no comas mierda. So I'm telling you this so you know what's going on with Goldman Sachs. They typically don't, They don't make any ball calls. They don't make no calls on nothing, It's not to their advantage. They no hablan. They don't talk. But they're saying, ladies and gentlemen, if you're banking on gold, papi, it's going all the way to the moon. ¿Tú entiendes? You know what I'm trying to say, Saludos to you, Mr. Donut. Saludos to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say that I hope your holiday season is looking as well as mine's. I'm being honest, I'm happy, I'm content, I got beautiful family that love me and I love them. My wife loves me, I love her. You know what I'm saying? So I wish all of you the same too. I wish the same to you guys, that you guys have a wonderful time and you're doing the cha-cha and you're doing the cheeky boom boom with Santa Claus and all that good stuff, right? But I'm telling you all this so you know what's going on, So we're gonna be talking about some other things that we need to, talk about and cover. So you know where silver and you know where gold is at, and they're both going all the way to Mars. Not to the moon no more. They're going to Mars. Mars. ¿Cómo se dice eso, Guino? Mars. Over there. Real, very far. Very far. But ladies and gentlemen, gold is at $4,360, right? Don't forget that, all right? Don't forget that. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, independent watchmakers, I'm going to tell you some watch, independent, they're saying that the top watches of 2025, and I'm going to talk to you about this watch. It's an independent watch, which is called Urban Jurgensen, the UJ-1 Tourbillon, So maybe you want to look into that watch. The other watch is the Peter Man Bidat, reference 1825. Unbelievable. These people, these are independent people, they make 20 watches in the back in the garage, over there, in Geneva. You know what I'm saying? Los mocosos, banging there, pa, pa, they do those watches, You got Fernand Bertard Nassins, Well, you got that one too. So maybe you want to look into that one. And ladies and gentlemen, you also have a Grupo Forci, Grupo Forci watch. It'll cost you over $100,000, and you won't believe it, But Grupo Forci, the QP, Balancier. So look into that watch. And ladies and gentlemen, my favorite one of these independent watchmakers, it is called the Constantin, the Chaikin, a Chaikin. And they call it the Chaikin White Rabbit. They got those crazy eyes. You know what I'm trying to say? It's an unbelievable watch. So maybe you want to take a look at it. This is what these Lambones and Palomos are saying, that these are the top independent watchmakers of, of 2025. Esta gente son unos descarados que son. Todos son unos descarados. You don't know what I say? You Google it, because I'm not going to tell you what I said. All right, guys? So you have that there. I'm giving you a little bit of everything so you guys are well-rounded, for tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a beautiful day. It's, a couple of days away from Christmas Eve, and the kids are going bananas with the Christmas gifts, and you guys should be going bananas with your Christmas gifts as well, All right, so we're going to be talking about something that I need to address it with all of you, ladies and gentlemen. I talk to you guys a lot about, people, they're doing tricks, hoodwinking, fleecing, flim-flamming, hucksters, all this, these flim-flammers. They're looking for, easy targets to get you taken. But I'm going to say this because a lot of you out there believe that these channels, these people that do live streams are making a killing, making a killing. They're dead. They're dead. Tienen todos los canzoncillos cagados. Todos. If you don't know what I say, you Google it, because I'm not going to tell you, They all have, skid marks on their white Hanes underwears, Tanto cagado. There's no money out there. But ladies and gentlemen, you need to listen so you can learn something. There was a young kid in the last 3 days, a young kid decided that he wanted to become famous in the watch industry. If you listen, you'll learn. And if you learn, you'll get smarter, right? So the young kid, he went out there and he said, I'm going to become a big time, watch dealer. And I'm going to do it the smart way because I'm the smartest one out there. And he said by doing this, he was going to go out there and buy a watch. He was going to buy a watch from a famous watch dealer, ladies and gentlemen, And I've told you already that these people are a bunch of flim-flammers, a bunch of scammers, a bunch of grifters, looking for people to, to take him, to take him deep, real deep. So the kid, he wants to become a famous YouTuber. This is an unbelievable platform. This YouTube platform is unbelievable. What these people let you do and let you express and let you talk about is beautiful. It's beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, if we get a thunder lightning on our TV antenna and the channel goes off, se la vi. Se jodió todo, papá. No hay más choice, más nada. I'm going to try to give you this so you guys can learn. So the young kid, he decided to put cameras all over his body, and he was going to go see one famous gentleman. And that famous gentleman, you know where those famous gentlemen are. They're over there in the Bronx, in New York City, on 47th Street, in the Diamond District. He went over there, because he wanted to go meet. He wanted to meet, the horse thief. Horse thief, who it is? Mazelito, the horse thief, with chiclets. Big, he's unbelievable. He had rotten teeth, but then he made some money and he put some, chiclets, on his mouth. And he has teeth now, He looks like a human being, como un ser humano, el palomo ese, So they go see that guy over there, They go see the other guy too, he's another scammer. We're talking about the 10 Commandments. You know what I'm saying? If you look for his name, the 10 Commandments. You know what was the name of 10 Commandments, right? Well, that's the name, He goes over there and he's going to go see that guy too, the 10 Commandments. And then he's going to go see the other one, the vacuum cleaner. You know who vacuum cleaner is too? This is in 47th Street and the Diamond District, where the biggest fraudsters are at, ladies and gentlemen. The biggest fraudsters. Ustedes no entienden de esto, papi. Ustedes no entienden estas cosas. Ustedes son un bonche de lambones. So they go over there. And ladies and gentlemen, because he wants to become a famous YouTuber. He wants to have, millions of subscribers and, likes and views and all that good stuff. And ladies and gentlemen, he takes a cool $5,000 in his pocket. Listen and learn, ladies and gentlemen. Those people over there, they were taught very young by their parents. They were taught very young by their parents how to get you taken. How to get you taken. How to become flim-flammers, to fleece people out of their money, So the kid goes over there with his camera hitting away. And ladies and gentlemen, he stops and he sees the guy with the, with the horse teeth. The horse teeth, he had rotten teeth. Now he has horse teeth. And he's going to go over there to see him. I always see you in the tube and you're famous. And he shake his hands and I want to buy your watch. And the guy, with the horse teeth, Mazelito says, you got to find a watch that fits you, that you like. Because, you're talking about you want to buy a watch from me and then you want to flip it for money, buy, the whole sketch, And ladies and gentlemen, he goes to see the most famous one of all of them, ladies and gentlemen. You know who the most famous one, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to go viral. This live stream is going to go viral because I'm calling out these cockroaches. So una gonorrhea. They're an infection in the corner of your ingrown toenail, full of green, yellow pus. Son una jicotea, papi. Son una jicotea. So he goes to see the fat. This fat, este morón, este gordo feo. He has, funeral home curtains in his house. Funeral home curtains in his house. You know what I'm trying to say? Funeral home curtains in his house, ladies and gentlemen. You don't know what I'm trying to say, ladies and gentlemen. This is another. Esto es un gordo malo. Este es un gordo malo. It's feo y malo. He's And he goes to see him. He's gonna go see, Uncle Johnny Eddie Monster from the funeral home. With, funeral home curtains back there. He's talking about that he has thousands of watches, and the young kid goes over there and he's recording him, ladies and gentlemen, and he's shaking his hand, and you're famous, and I wanted to come and see you, and I wanted to give away my money to you because you're the man. You're the man that I want to buy this watch. You need to go see that video, ladies and gentlemen. You need to go see that video. I'm helping out this poor soul that got fleeced and flim-flam by this hoodwink and huckster, you know? These people are possum kickers. These people are cow tippers. These people are crumb bums, sandbags, you know? Esta gente son una cucaracha malas. And he goes to see him, Uncle Johnny. You know, Uncle Johnny. You know what I'm saying? Uncle Johnny Eddie Monster. And ladies and gentlemen, he's showing him a watch. He's showing him a Rolex Datejust, you know? Rolex Datejust. And that fat boy is telling him that this is the watch that he needs to buy. And he tells the young fella that the watch costs $5,500. You know, a Rolex Datejust, you know, the Datejust, you know, with the gold bezel, and then, you know, the bracelet, you know, stainless steel with yellow gold, with Jubilee bracelet. And he's telling the young kid, you know, that 5,500. And the young kid, you know, he's full of, está lleno de mierda, you know, porque lo que tiene es mierda en la chola. ¿Sabes lo que es la chola? You know, mierda en la chola. You know, he's telling him, no, you know, Uncle Johnny, I want to buy you the watch, but what I have, you know, what I have is $5,000 is what I have. $5,000 is what I have. The young kid tells him because he wants to become a famous YouTuber. He wants to become a famous YouTuber recording Uncle Johnny Eddie Monster with the funeral curtains, you know? The funeral curtains, it's unbelievable. It's una cosa fea. Es extraño, you know, es extraño. I don't understand how you people give away your money to these sardine cans, you know? How do you give your money? What do they have that you guys easily depart from your hard-earned money and you give it to these cockroaches, you know? Ratas de cuatro patas, you know? Rata de dos patas, son unas infecciones, muchachos. And Uncle Johnny tells him, you know, Uncle Johnny. I'm going to call him like that. Uncle Johnny. You heard it. Uncle Johnny. You know, Uncle Johnny. Eddie Monster tells him, you know what? The watch cost me $5,000. $5,000. He tells the young fella. $5,000. Unbelievable. And you know what that Uncle Johnny tells him? 5,000 is my cost, and I'm gonna give it to you for $5,000. And he gives it to the kid for $5,000, all recorded, ladies and gentlemen. It's an embarrassment. What I do for you people for free is unbelievable. What I do for free for you guys. You know, I do it with so much elegance and class for you guys. So you guys stop giving away. These people son una rata. These people are gonorrheas. These people are gonorrheas. You know? STD. You know? I don't know. These son unas infecciones, the worst you can ever see. Those people from over there, from New York City, the Diamond District, they're pus. The worst. The worst of the worst. These are just bad people, and you people continue to give your money away to these people. So he's recording the whole transaction, and now he said he's gonna buy it for $5,000. And you know that Uncle Johnny Eddie Monster with the funeral home curtains tells him he's gonna get for 5 G's, and he gives him the $5,000, and he says to him, now you're gonna be able to sell it for $6,500. You know, listen to the name. Listen to the name and let it penetrate. La chola tuya, you know, your head. Listen to the name. He bought it for 5, and he told him, you're going to be able to sell it now for $6,500. You know, and he was looking at his idol, you know. Tipo feo, you know, tipo un feo. El tipo feo, 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 con co, feo. And the kid is recording everything, ladies and gentlemen. And his first stop, ladies and gentlemen, he's gonna go see the 10 Commandments. And the 10 Commandments sees the watch that he just purchased from Uncle Johnny. And the 10 Commandments tells him, you know what? I can sell you one. I can sell you one for, for $3,000. $3,000. And he's looking at it, and he's looking at it. This is a gang. But the kid did it right. He recorded all of them. Lo cogió infragante. He got him infragante, papá. Infragante. And so the kid, they were shocked, 5,000, you can sell it for 65, and he just got an offer for $3,000, right? And then he goes to see Vacuum, vacuum cleaner. Vacuum cleaner, I believe, is the son of the subway train jumper. The subway train jumper from the movie Ghost, that he would jump from train to train. This is my train, ugly guy, with eyes like that. You know what I'm trying to say? From Ghost. I think that's his son, Vacuum Cleaner. And he goes to see Vacuum Cleaner. And Vacuum Cleaner takes a look at the watch. He doesn't know. If he would have known what was going on, he doesn't open up his mouth. So when he sees the watch, he looks at it real well, Looks at it real well. And guess what he tells him? He tells him, an aftermarket a bracelet on a watch is a Frankenstein. It's fake. So he looks at it and he tells him, that's an aftermarket bracelet. It's not a real Rolex. Not a real. You know what I'm trying to say, Mr. Donut? I'm trying to make it cute for you guys on this holiday season, He says, that's not a real bracelet. That's a Fugazi. That's a Fugazi. And the kid said, what do you mean that's a Fugazi? That's a Fugazi. That's a Fugazi. And the kid is in shock, from $5,000 to sell it to $6,500 to getting an offer of, the watch bracelet is fake. And then he goes to see another Lambón, another female. And the female says, the dial is aftermarket. The bracelet is aftermarket. The watch is a Fugazi. Thank you very much for that super chat, Zigo. Thank you very much. Agradecido un millón. Thank you very much for the super chat, for the thank you chat, for all that good stuff. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. Thank you very much. And then the female girl over there is looking at it. For those people over there, those people, todos son una gonorrea, it's an infection. These people are an infection, ladies and gentlemen. 47th Street, the Diamond District. You are a disgrace if you buy something from those people. You're a disgrace, and especially from Uncle Johnny. Eddie Monster. With the funeral home curtains in his house. Funeral home curtains, unbelievably. Qué cosa más grande como ustedes regalan su dinero. And ladies and gentlemen, they told him that the watch was no good. That the only thing that was good in that watch was the casing. That was it. I want you to understand, so when you see this guy walking around with big Samsonite, maletas, airport bags, full of watches, you know what they are. You know what they are. He sold that poor soul for $5,000 a watch that was probably worth. Listen and learn, ladies and gentlemen. No sean palomos, no sean lambones, no sean mamados. ¿Tú entiendes? No sean mamados, no regalen el dinero. No lo regalen tan fácil. Don't give away your money so easily, man. Stop giving away your children's tuition money. Stop giving away your 401k, your wife's 401k. Stop giving your children's prepaid college away to these lambones. Stop giving it away, ladies and gentlemen. These people son una cucaracha. Esta gente son mala. So mala. These people have horns coming out. You know, they're demons, demonics. You know, son el demonio. Son el demonio. And ladies and gentlemen, that was a watch, probably, man, a $2,000 watch. He's saf. You know what saf is? He's saf. That's a word they use. Saf. That is a word they use. It's called saf. They saffed the poor kid. They saffed him. You know, saffed him. They were scratching their head. And ladies and gentlemen, I advise all of you to go take a look at that video. This poor kid, lo dejaron homeless. They went so deep in him, you know, que se quedó allá. He's going to stay there. Se traumatizó. He even told them, I admire you, Uncle Johnny Eddie Monster, you know, with funeral home curtains. I admire you. And he didn't have no sympathy for him. No tenía. No sympathy, papi. You know, they're desperate for money. There you go. These people are desperate for money. No hay dinero. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no more SBA loans. There's no more PPP loans. There's no more free government money. There's no more stimulus checks. No more unemployment checks. No government employment protection checks. No hay más ya, papi. There's nothing no more, papi. There's no more, ladies and gentlemen. You know, the poor kid, ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you this, because you all need to go see that video so you can learn more. So you can learn more from the only public service watch announcement channel out there, papi. This is the only one, papi. Listen to me. They open the doors and then they block me. They open the doors and then they block me. Porque esto es una jodienda, you know? Esto es una jodienda. They open the doors and then they block me. Ladies and gentlemen, the poor kid went over there back. You know, they went back. He went back to Uncle Johnny. You know, he went back to Uncle Johnny. He was trying to salute. He was trying to salute the owl. You know who the owl is? He was trying to salute the owl in Bohemian Grove. You know, in Bohemian Grove over there to learn. He went back over there and he told him, you're my idol. You know, but they told me right here in the Diamond District that what you sold me was a fake watch. What you sold me was a fake watch. That fat man, he was in shock, you know, when they went back. And he told them who they were. And he showed them the video, you know, of horse teeth, 10 Commandments, vacuum cleaner, you know, Diana Ross. You know who Diana Ross is? She's in that video too. She comes out. Otra lambona. You know? You understand me? These people, they're cockroaches. This is why esa gente hay que darle patá por las nargas. Patá por las nargas. You know what nargas is? I'm not going to tell you. You Google it. You know why? I have 21 organic watch channels, subscribers, and I only have 11 thumbs up. You guys are an embarrassment. You guys are an embarrassment. Ustedes se merecen que le sigan siendo esto duro. Que le hagan así bien profundo, bien duro para adentro. Bien duro para adentro. No te metas aquí, no. No te metas. No te metas aquí, no, en esto. No. No te metas en esto. No te metas en esto. Voy a tomar un poquito de agua que se jodan esta gente. Son unos gilipollas. Son unos gilipollas. So he went back over there to go see Uncle Johnny, you know, a fat man, you know, yellow stains in his armpits. It's unbelievable. Son gente cochina, es una infección con peste. Ese joyete tiene que estar cagado. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm bothered, ladies and gentlemen. I try to help you people out. You know, I try to help you people out. You know, it's duro. And ladies and gentlemen, so he told them about the watch. Ladies and gentlemen, out of the $5,000 that he gave that desperate cockroach. That desperate cockroach. Ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to believe this. Yes, we're live, Papi. We're live. Yes, we're live. We're live. They gave him back, you know, Uncle Johnny, Eddie Monster, you know, with the funeral home curtains. He gave him back $2,400. You understand me? So if you're thinking of buying a watch from one of those Samsonite, you know, I don't know how maletas, you know, I don't know how you call it, luggage. If you're thinking of buying a watch from that fat man, you think about it. You know, the fat man with yellow stains in his armpits. You know, these people, you know, somebody's asking me, but did he keep the watch? I'm gonna help the young man out. You need to see the video. You need to go see the video. And then when you see the video, you read the comments. You read the comments. So you understand. Estos son alacranes. These son alacranes. I told you the story of the scorpion and the turtle. You know, the scorpion and the turtle is an unbelievable story. And I'm going to tell you quickly. The scorpion wanted to get across the other side of the river. And he told 20 times to the turtle, please, let me get on top of your shell, in your back, and cross me over to the other side. I got my wife, my chick, my children over there on the side. The scorpion told the turtle. And he told him so many times that he got the turtle dizzy. The turtle knowing already. This is who you people are. You know who Uncle Johnny is, Eddie Monster, with the funeral home curtains. You know who he is. But the scorpion continued nagging the turtle. And one day he had the turtle dizzy. And the turtle said, come on, scorpion, jump on top of my shell. I think, you know, you're a good man. I'm going to cross you over to the other side of the lake. And when they're going, you know, they're cruising. And the scorpion tells the turtle, you see, turtle, I told you I wasn't going to do nothing to you. You know, the scorpion tells the turtle, I told you I wasn't going to do nothing to you. And they're cruising and they're around now in the middle, you know, the middle of the voyage. The middle of the voyage. And when they're in the middle of the voyage, the scorpion goes zap, right in the neck of the turtle. And the turtle looks in shock. Scorpion, what have you done to me? And the scorpion replies back to him, turtle, I'm sorry. It's my nature. De descojonarte y joderte. You know, to get you taken. And that's it. And this is who these people are. Son escorpiones. And you guys are a bunch of turtles. You know, it's in their nature, papi. It's in their nature. These motherfroggers, it's in their nature. The guy with the horse teeth, he was walking around with rotten teeth. You know, until he was getting too famous and he put up 2 pair of chiclets in the front, you know? That guy, you know? And the other guy, you know, 10 Commandments, getting people with disabilities, selling them chains, you know? Fake. These people are unbelievable. And then you have, you know, you have Vacuum Cleaner, which is the son of the Ghost Train Jumper. You ever seen the Ghost Train Jumper? You know, this is what it is. The Ghost Train Jumper, ladies and gentlemen, has more bracelets and links and stack of hands and Daytona dials and you know, just everything they have had, acumulado. You know, acumulado. ¿Cómo se llama eso aquí? Acumulado. You know, accumulated. I don't know how to say it. You know, help me out. Acumulado, you know? Un lambón que me ayude, you know? He's taking links. Sell you a watch, you know, let's say with 18 links and 2 are missing, you know? two are missing. These people are unbelievable. Son una gonorrea. Son una gonorrea. Oye, les suplico a ustedes, no sean más lambones. No sean gilipollas. No sean unos huelebichos. ¿Tú sabes lo que son unos huelebichos? ¿Ustedes saben lo que es un huelebicho? I'm bothered, man. I'm very bothered, man. You know? You know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say. Is this Damon? I think that's Damon. He's unbelievable, that Damon. He's there. He's giving the whole shalam, the whole story, you know? And I'm doing this for free for you guys. You guys don't even deserve a watch market update. ¿Pa qué? You're buying fake watches. The poor soul, ladies and gentlemen. He thought that in giving away $5,000, you know, to Uncle Johnny Eddie Monster with funeral home curtains was going to make him big, ladies and gentlemen. Lo dejaron loco. Lo dejaron loco. You got to see these people. You should see their faces. Their faces, because they're recorded, you know, without them knowing they're being recorded. You know, this is unbelievable. This is like, you know, this is like ICA, you know. This is like, you know, this is like the Rothschilds, you know. This is like, you know, Bohemian Grove saluting the owl, you know. You know what I'm saying? Esto es Black Rock. You know, this is Black Rock. You should see their faces. It looked to me like a 2020 special, like a 48-hour special. It looked like a Dateline special. This was incredible. You know what I'm trying to say? Exactly. Now it's ladies and gentlemen, it's no longer the ICA. Now it's the AIC. You know, the AIC, ladies and gentlemen. And this is to amuse you guys, ladies and gentlemen, that you got to stop giving away your money to these people. You know, they were in shock. They were in shock that they were being recorded. They were recorded. You know what it is to say that the casing of that watch is worth $2,000? Son papi, son gente mala, son macabélico. Macabélico. You know what macabélico is? Macabélico. Macabélico, papi. Macabélico. Ustedes no entienden esto, muchachos. Ustedes no entienden esta jodienda. You know? Ustedes no entienden esto. Ustedes no entienden esta jodienda. Ustedes no entienden esto, muchachos. Ustedes no entienden esto. Regalándole el dinero a la gonorrea esa, a la infección esa. Regalándole el dinero a la gonorrea esa. No coman mierda, muchachos. No pueden comer mierda. No pueden comer mierda, muchachos. No pueden. No pueden. Ustedes son unos lambones. And then you see them. And you know what, you guys send me messages? Hey, man, did you see Uncle Johnny? He must have, man, 1,000 watches. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you believe that in that Samsonite luggage, those are real watches, you got your answer now. You know? You got your answer now. Selling fake watches. You know? Those are Canal Street watches. You understand me? Those are Canal Street watches. Somebody has to do this, ladies and gentlemen. We have to do this for you guys. Somebody has to do it, and we do it for free. What do you think of that story, ladies and gentlemen? I want to hear. I want to see a couple of comments. What do you think about? Has anybody seen this story already? Has anybody seen this story? You need to help out this kid. You know, recover something, you know, a couple of $100. You know? ¿Tú entendiste? You oh, there it is. Somebody saw it. Okay, who is this? This is Doc Mick of Florida. Doc Mick, Florida. You know I don't say things the way it is 100%, but did I say something correctly? Did I say it correctly? Oh, you need to see it. You need to see it, Brian. You need to see it so you say, man, how does sweet kick Kino? Listen, Kino comes from the underworld. You have to see it, Damon. You have to see their faces. You have to see their faces. You have to see their faces. You gotta see these people. Son una jodienda. You have to see their faces. Listen to me. When you see the Ten Commandments eyes, you know, since he didn't know he was being recorded. You saw a demon eyes. You saw the other guy too, chiclets. Horse teeth. He had rotten teeth. Now he has chiclets. Real big ones. Real big ones. And you see their faces, and you should, man, let me tell you, man, papi, el ser humano, the human soul is terrible, man. Es malo. This is why, when I told you people out there that to buy a liter of adrenochrome, you know what adrenochrome is? It costs $2 billion so you can continue looking like you're 19 years old. This is what these people are. These people are demonic. To get a liter of adrenochrome, you need 100 babies. That's where the babies get lost. These people are bad people, ladies and gentlemen. Son gente mala, brother. Gente mala. Right now, they can throw me a thunder lightning and go off the air, and I don't care. I already told you everything, papi. Tú sabes, you guys, these people son malo, bro. Son malo. They're bad. They're bad souls. And they were recorded, man. They were recorded. Whatever it was, they were recorded. It cost me $5,000. You gotta see this Uncle Johnny, man. It cost me $5,000. He's being recorded, but you know what? You have $5,000. You have $5,000. Yeah, I have $5,000. And you admire me, and I'm the best celebrity watch. Yeah, you're the one I like. I'm gonna give it to you for $5,000. Pobrecito, brother. Pobrecito. ¿Dónde está la mente? Where's the father? Where's the mother at? Where it's wicked, man. It's wicked. Where's the father? Where's the mother at, man? How you letting your kid associate con estas? Son garrapatas. They're ticks in Uranus. Having a tick in Uranus is a painful thing. A friend of mine is a doctor from the animals. He told me about that. It's a pain. These son garrapatas. They're ticks in Uranus there, chupándote. Son sangrihuela. Sangrihuela. It's incredible, ladies and gentlemen, what I do for you guys for free. What I do for you guys for free. You guys should applaud me. So when I step down and I'm no longer here, you know what it is? La laca, papa. Eso es laca, papi, laca. Fuego. Fuego en el 23, papi. Fuego en el 23. Those people from New York, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, when those kids, those vacuum cleaners, those 10 commandments, ghost train jumper, ghost face killer, ghost face killer is? Unbelievable rap group, ghost face killer, but this is the ghost train jumper. These people were sent to school. These children were sent to school, by their parents. And their parents, Papa, let me tell you, esto es lacra. You know what I'm trying to say. Lacra, papi, lacra. These people, they will send their kids to school. You imagine, I have 3 grandchildren, 3 boys. And you imagine me telling my grandchildren, you're going to go to school, I'm going to give each of you 5 blow pops. 5 blow pops. And you go to school today, and you are in the 1st grade, kindergarten. Son macabélicos, bro. Son el diablo, Satanás. Son peor que Satanás. And you go to school, and you sell those blow pops. If you come home with 5 blow pops, you're not gonna be a good con man. You know, if you come back, you know, with 3 of them, you're so. You're getting there. If you come back with 2, you're gonna be a star. You know, you come back with 1, you're unbelievable. You know, but you're gonna be tricking everybody. You know, everybody por todos lados. Saludo, Alex. Por todos lados. Esta gente son una gonorrea. These people take their children and put them on top of a table. You imagine me doing that to my grandchildren, putting them on a table. And the father tells the child, the boy, because they're all boys. Even the girls get training too. But in this case, let's talk about the boys. They put him in a table and the father goes back. You know, the father goes back and he tells the 3-year-old, 2-year-old kid, come on, jump. No, I don't want to do it, Dada. I don't want to do it, Papa. Don't be a mashugana. Come on, mashugana. Yalla. You don't know what yalla is? Yalla. Come on. Yalla. And the little kid, no. And the father, I'm your father. You believe me. And the little kid, the father, come on, jump. And I'm talking about, probably 5 feet. You're going to jump. And ladies and gentlemen, look at me. The little kid's right. This is the father, and that's the kid up there. He said, come on, jump. No, Dada, no. Yalla. And finally, the little kid decides to go through with the jump. And just exactly when the little kid, this is how they teach these minds. This is how they teach these minds. You don't know about this. And suddenly when the little kid decides to go through with the jump, like Evel Knievel, Evel Knievel, the little kid jumps. And right when the kid is flying in the air, the father goes like this. Loose teeth, busted ear. And you know what the father tells him? That's so you don't ever trust anybody in life. You don't know about that. You don't know about that. Paco Gambino would sit me down and told me those stories, and I would look at him like he had 50 heads. He was right and I was wrong. Looking at him, he was right all along. You know what it is for a father, to give the trust to your child. And he's going to throw himself so his father can catch him and embrace him. And instead he does this. And the kid, loose tooth. And the father tells him, this is the lecture that you don't ever trust nobody. Those people don't trust nobody. Those people don't, esa gente son mala, brother, mala, macabélico, all those people there, all of them, macabélico. Yo quisiera tenerlos ahí un sueño para darle patada por las nalgas. See, because making money is one thing, and cheating people out of their money is another thing. Paco Gambino loved to make money, but he wouldn't frog nobody. Frog, like a frog, a sapo. He wouldn't frog nobody. He wouldn't. No. I'm not saying that Paco Gambino was a saint. He wasn't. He was 5 feet 4 inches, full of fury. Ay, papá, un poquito de música, papi, para que se caliente esta jodienda. So you saw the video? Did you see the video? Oh, he was a very smart man. He was a smart man. Paco Gambino, to all of you that don't know this, you're going to know it today. Paco Gambino was first my father's friend. And then I became, Paco Gambino's friend. But that's how it goes. But the school that I got, my father got away before I did. And, listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. It's very hard to say what I'm going to tell you before I let all of you go. Okay? But listen up. You can't trust nobody, man. You can't trust nobody. I know it sounds harsh, but you can't trust nobody, Bobby. The world is frogged up. All right, guys? The world's frogged up. Guys, I don't have time for a watch market update because I was talking to you about this guy, Uncle Johnny, Eddie Monster with the funeral parlor, curtains, and we were talking about that. But anyway, guys, I want to thank all of you. If tomorrow I'm going to be somewhere special, I have a chance, I'll go live again and I'll give you a watch market update. I'll give you one. But ladies and gentlemen, right now, I'm a little bit disturbed what they did to that poor kid. I'm going to tell all of you to do this kid a favor, let him get some views up there, probably get back a couple of $100, get a couple of $100 and, probably that can help him out. But, what they did to that kid is sad. And those people, I'm going to tell all you 20 out there, don't believe a word that Uncle Johnny, Uncle Johnny Eddie Monster with the yellow stains in his armpits, son gente que ni, tú sabes, son cochinos, no se lavan ni los huevos, no se lavan los huevos. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this watch market update. Oh, what happened? Alex is asking what happened with Uncle Johnny. Can somebody please inform Alex what happened with Uncle Johnny Eddie Monster, with the funeral parlor curtains, design that he has. Es una cucaracha, Alex. Es terrible. He's terrible. What he did to a kid, Papi, you won't forgive him. You won't forgive him. All right, guys? Anyway, guys, yes, I'll give you tomorrow a watch market update. Somewhere special, I will give it to you. Okay, guys? Listen to me. Please stop giving away your children's tuition money. I said it wrong. Stop giving away your money to these people. Stop maintaining their lifestyle. Stop maintaining their lifestyle. They're desperate. They don't have money. All those watches that most of them have and those big, big luggage, they're fake. Anyway, guys, like me and Sweet say, I forgot. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video. Give me a thumbs up, man. Put it at 20. Somebody put that at 20. We have 19 right now. Put it at 20. Put the thumbs up at 20, Vamos a romper esta mierda. No coman mierda. There you go. 20. Wow, Kino, we got 20. Anyway, guys, enjoy your evening. Enjoy the holiday seasons. They're beautiful. All right, guys? Lo quiero mucho a todos ustedes. I love you guys very, very much. Be well. Be smart. Lo quiero mucho. Take care and brush your hair. Peace.